Hi everyone, welcome for this webinar session on the AFES major for the Development Studies program at ISS. Here with me today we have the convener or the course leader of the program, Mr. Julian Francois, and also we have a student from the AFES program, Sergio, and he's from Colombia, and he's here to share his experience of the major and how is it like to study at ISS. But for now, we will move on to Julian to introduce himself and provide you an overview of the AFES program.
Hi everyone, welcome everyone. So yeah, my name is Julian Gerber. I'm originally from Switzerland. I've been teaching here for like 4 years now. I'm the convener of the AFES major. I teach political ecology, also a bit of agrarian studies. My research focus on credit, debt, environmental conflicts, degrowth, those kinds of things. And I hope this little webinar will be able to clarify some of the doubts you may have about the program. And of course, I also hope that the program will sound like interesting to you. That's a bit the purpose. So yeah, next to me, I have Sergio, who is a student in the batch. Sergio, maybe you want to say a few words about yourself.
Hello, well, as Darren already introduced, I am from Colombia, in Bogota. My background is in business and economics. And well, yeah, right now I'm like having this shift of career and well, yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you. So I'll start with some basics about the program, how it fits at the ISS. So the ISS, by the International Institute of Social Studies, we have basically 5 majors, which is 5 types of like master degrees, if you want. And AFES, Agrarian, Food and Environmental Studies, that's the one I represent, is one of those 5. The program lasts for 15 months and a half. It's quite long, actually. It's like longer than some of the master's program in the UK, for example. But it has its advantage also. It allows you more room for your own personal research. And we take, you know, what we call the research paper, which is the little piece of work you will do at the end on something of your own interest, like very seriously, and we give you some time to actually do that. Hence, this extra few months to the entire program. What would be the key features of the MA, right, at the ISS? Well, first of all, I think everybody agrees on that. It's a very international place. There's a wide diversity here. And that's really a strength of the program, I think. So you will be working with people from all different places. There will be lots of exchange of ideas, of backgrounds. That's really enriches a lot, I think, the major and the program that you guys. Also, as I just said, right, it allows you to carry out your own individual research. That's also something you might not find in other comparable programs. So starting from the summer, you can work on your own research on the RP, this research paper I was mentioning. And then a third feature would be this constant like tentative to link theory, policies, right, and also practical application of the knowledge we're teaching in different either through NGO work, through social movement, through activism, or through state level kind of engagement. AFES, Agrarian, Food and Environmental Studies, what it is all about. I think there's two broad kind of like goals we have. First of all, we try to understand the problems. Right? So we try to understand what's going on out there in terms of like maldevelopment, in terms of like failed experiences of rural development, specifically in AFES. And it's not a program in agronomy, right? It's not a program in like rural businesses, for example. It's a social science program that will first of all show you or help you think about the problems, better understand them, you know, what, and then first step, and then second step, what can be done about them at different levels. So at the state level, the grassroots level, right, private sectors, but also government sector or even outside of. So first we try to understand, and second we try to see what can be done. All of that from a social science perspective. Good. So I hope that's clear. And then what would be the disciplinary approach of that? So we have a key kind of like theoretical lenses we use. And the first one would be perhaps political economy. By that, we mean the study of economic questions, looking at power, institutions, distributional questions, right? Who gets what, who doesn't, politics as well, in the sense of political movements and so on. So political economy, political ecology as well, right? Political ecology, very broadly, it's this intersection between power, nature, culture, right? The broad area that tries to better understand those links and the origin of like environmental destruction. But then we have also other disciplines, depending on the people teaching, right? We have gender studies as well. We have agrarian studies. It's a major that is very strong in agrarian studies, so the study of rural change, the study of rural politics. And then we have different disciplines depending on what faculty member is involved in this or that course, right? We have anthropology, also environmental studies, and so on. But always we try to have this balance between theory, policy, practice. You can ask me also more questions at the end if you need more detail. I think this particular major, AFES, is also well known for this intersection of agrarian politics. So the transformation of the rural world, the influence of the market, how livelihoods are changing, questions like food sovereignty, land grabbing as well. These are key focus of the program. But also we're interested in environmental politics, so conflicts, social movements, active in protesting against the unequal distributions of impacts related to development, right? Ecological impact, for example, climate change, deforestation, biodiversity losses, and things like that. So these are all topics we will look at in detail in the project. Who are these AFES core faculty? So the group is actually growing, and we have some new colleagues who will join. One has recently joined, Luca Cortesi, and one will join very soon in September, Elena Perez Nino from Colombia. So we have a very diverse group there in AFES. We have Murat Arsel, for example, originally from Turkey, with expertise on Latin America, but also South Asia, Middle East. We have One Visser, who is right now also the chairman of our political ecology research group. He is from the Netherlands, but he has this specialty on Eastern Europe and Central Asia. We have Wendy Harcourt. She's originally from Australia. She works on feminist political ecology. We have Tegaye Moreda, who is originally from Ethiopia and who has this focus on sub-Saharan Africa. We have June Boras also, who is originally from the Philippines and who has written on almost every part of the world, actually. Luisa Cortesi, originally from Italy, and she has a strong focus on South Asia. And myself there, difficult to recognize with the short hair and without the glasses there. I'm originally from Switzerland, as I said, and these days I work quite a lot on the South Asian region. We have other staffs also, members at the ISS. Some of them are emeritus, but they're still teaching, they're still doing research, they're still active, and that's always really nice to have like the elders, who come and still, share with us all their knowledge. Ben White, Chris Kay, they're like big figures in agrarian studies, and they still give courses. We have Lorenzo Pellegrini also from the economics group, and we have Christina Satyamala, who also teaches a number of courses on public health and questions like that. The teaching approach. So how would I describe it? I think related to what I said earlier, it has to be very diverse, right? Because we have a diverse group of students with different backgrounds, different disciplinary backgrounds. So we constantly have to kind of like take that into account, and I think it enriches the general approach. We try to have participatory lectures. We try to have discussions. We try to have sessions where students can share their ideas, share even drafts of the essays they're working on. It has not always been easy with the pandemic. Maybe Sergio has some background to share on that. But I think one of the trademark also of the ISS and of AFES, especially perhaps, is that we have a very easily approachable. So since it's like still a small class, it's a relatively small institute. It's very easy to just almost like on a one-day notice to meet, your professors, just have discussions, share any doubt you may have. So I would say that. Then we have a number of teaching innovations. In some courses, we ask students to make short videos, use of multimedia. We have study visits as well. We, with the group, we go and visit some Dutch farmers and we ask them questions. For example, we have also a study trip of like 2, sometimes 3 days that can be organized in the European region. But you have also a lot of work to really go deeper into your own personal interest. And that's also, I think, a core element of our teaching approach. Sergio, do you wanna get anything to add on that? I don't wanna put you under the spotlight. Only if there's anything to.
Yeah, like I would like to actually, confirm like this how approachable the stuff is, but not only like outside lectures, but also within discussions, right? Because the different perspectives that come into these spaces to discuss the different topics are very varied, right? Due to this diversity, you get to know about cases from Asia, from Africa, in a detailed and a very relevant way that is enriched with the theory and the cases that you discuss in class. So I think that one added value of these lessons and these lectures in ISS is how students are also very much welcomed to intervene as much as they can in the topics and go as far as we can, because the lecturers are really open to go into that direction.
Yeah. Thank you, Sergio. Can continue back.
And again, I don't know if Sergio, well, it has been difficult to build an AFES community under the pandemic, but that's also something we try to encourage a lot. And there's different ways of creating these communities here in the building. We have common spaces, but there is also, for example, cultural program in the ISS. There was a food class where people would cook, from their different culinary traditions. We also have a little bar down there. Unfortunately, it was closed during the pandemic. It's called the Butterfly, and it's an important place where there's a lot of exchange of ideas also, and it's part of the community experience here at the ISS. Sometimes great ideas, do not appear where you would expect, right? It's sometimes just by discussing with colleagues, or friends or classmates in the hallways also, or in front of the building. So that's also an aspect that I wanted to mention. The AFES batch has this reputation of having usually a strong community. So that's nice, I think. The structure of the major. So I would suggest that you have a look at it in more details. In very broad terms, at this point, we can talk also about it later in the Q&A. Just keep in mind that there's basically 4 terms. That means the master is divided in 4 parts. The first is like the general introduction, and then part 2, part 3 is the time when the courses will take place, winter, spring, and then term 4 is really the time for you to work on your research project. And in the first term, in the first part, right, it's divided into 1A and 1B. So 1A, you have some courses you have to take to make everybody at the same level, so that we all start on the same page. And then 1B, you have the first course that introduces you to the AFES major. That's the course I am personally coordinating. It's called Political Economy of Agriculture and the Environment, and it's a kind of teaser that introduces you to all the major topics of AFES. And then term 2, you have 2 compulsory courses. One more political ecology with Murat Arsel, and one more Agrarian study with June Boras and Tegarian. And these ones, they're compulsory. And it gives you this solid foundation in AFES. And then term 3, it's your own choice. You can pick the courses you want. There is a wide variety of courses at the ISS. And we make some suggestions, right? There's some very much related to AFES, some a bit less, but you're free. And then research paper, usually with fieldwork. So that's really also an exciting part of the program. You get to do fieldwork, you get to gather your own original data, you get to work on them, you get to analyze them, you get to present them. And then the specialization. So we have this possibility of specializing even more. In a way, the AFES is already a kind of specialization within development studies, but you can specialize even more in environmental questions. So it's called environment and sustainable development. And in order to get that specialization, you have to, of course, follow the 2 compulsory courses in term 2, but also have a research paper focusing on environmental questions. So it's not so difficult to have this specialization if you feel like it. But you're completely free not to have it. You can also pick potentially other specializations outside the major. We just have to see if it works with there's no clash between courses. So these research papers, on what topic can they be? Well, it's actually very broad, and that's really nice, I think. You can really focus on what you're interested in, and then you find somebody who is willing to accompany you, somebody from the staff members, who is the closest from what your interests are, and you can work on conservation issues, right? More on the environmental side. You can work on questions related to food. You can work on social movements. You can work on agrarian change. You can work on sustainability questions. So these are all variety of topics you can pick from. Here you can see a few examples on the slide. And this is seen as really a kind of like introduction to, if you want to continue, right, to then deeper work and academic work, for example, if this is what you're interested in. And again, the ISS would be a good place, you know, to get a sense of like higher level, if you want, research work or academia, because we have the chance to have here in the Institute a number of like major journals related to the topics of AFES, actually. We have development and change, that is basically it's like institutional anchorage here in the Institute. The editor-in-chief right now of development and change is Murat Arsel, who is also one of the core faculty members in AFES. We have June Boras, also an AFES professor, who is the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Peasant Studies. And that has become, under his leadership, actually a major journal in development studies and in anthropology, agrarian change, right? It's actually the most quoted right now academic journal on these questions. So a very potent journal in the field. And by chance, it's here. Lots of people working around these questions are here, and so that's something that is also exciting potentially. And we have also the Journal of Agrarian Change that is was also linked in some ways to AFES, because some Chris Kay, who is now working there, was also working in AFES as a professor here for many years. He's now one of the editors also of Agrarian Change, so that's another very close thing. And next to that, you have a number of like publishing series out there, book series with Routledge in critical agrarian studies, very often, again, coordinated by AFES faculty. There is also a very nice series of little books on questions related to political ecology or agrarian change, rural development. And there is about, I guess, now about 12 of those small books that like are excellent summary of a question. For example, food sovereignty, agroecology, the question of generation in agrarian change, and so on and so forth. I strongly invite you to have a look at these really nice little books that like offer you summaries of these questions and that exemplify also the kinds of questions we talk about here in AFES. Sergio, I don't know if you want to continue on any point that were mentioned, or anything you feel would be useful for people to know, or?
Yeah, sure. Like regarding the structure of the program, the first term, these first courses that Julian mentions that are like for leveling, it's I think they're not to be underrated because they actually make you open to questions that you wouldn't have asked yourself otherwise. Like they are very inviting and serve as a really good introduction for the approach that you have for the rest of the program. That's a first thing I would have to add. Another one is, and that I would like to have clear when I was applying, is that in the fourth term, as you can see, it's from the 5th of July to 17th of December. That means that time on which you are focused on developing your RP, you are not necessarily required to be here in The Hague, right? So if you like consider that financially would be helpful to, or even logistically to develop your RP back in the place where this takes place or at your home country, then that's also a possibility for the fourth term. Regarding the specializations, I think it is very important for you to check the academic calendar and see whether if there are if you can do them or not, so that you do not have like false expectations, because these compulsory courses sometimes like intersect with some of the specializations, but there are some that you actually can take. Regarding the topics of the RPs, yeah, I have been really surprised with the wide variety of research that has been undertaken here, from ethnographies done during COVID about urban dance teachers in Colombia, to more like alternative, more devoted to the use of technology in agriculture in alternative ways. So there is a very wide range there, and you are very much not only free but encouraged to actually pursue these topics, because in the end that's the objective of being here, right? Like asking questions and yeah, trying to shed some light on these topics.
Thank you very much, Sergio, and also Julian. We will move on to some questions and answers. There are a few questions from the students.
Sure.
But just to add to what Sergio had said just now about the academic calendar, just so you know, you can find that on our website. Make sure to download them and see what programs are offered. But remember, the academic calendar is from last year. The new one will be ready in August. Unfortunately, it's a little bit later. But you can grasp some ideas of what programs or specialization will be offered. But if you really need more detailed information, you can send me an email, and then I can ask Julian to clarify further. Now, this is a question for, it's a very general question, but the question is mostly falling under the student. So Sergio, the question is, how are you coping with your education at the moment? You're now in term 2, late term 2, so you have your assignments and reading, so much of readings, I assume, to do. How are you coping with all the restrictions because of the pandemic and not able to physically attend ISS and doing it all online? Can you explain a little bit about that?
Regarding the readings, you made me remember I am halfway of an essay I have to.
Yeah. So yes.
Today. But well, yeah, I did have like different experiences, right? Because I started the first term when I was in Colombia, so I did it from my home. And I think the emotion, the excitement of starting makes things like makes you really open to the experience, right? And you, as well as the rest of the students, are very eager to interact. We were able to create bonds, even though it was digitally, and we were create certain friendships by being in contact with each other, talking about the courses. So I think that in the middle of the difficulties of having physical interaction, it was not that bad. But the fact that it has taken so long, that means that you get tired of it with time, right? Like this second term, when I moved to The Hague in January, first the transition was a little bit hard for me emotionally also. The fact that everything's closed and the curfew and so on, these restrictions carry like some weight on your emotional well-being also. And also I have noticed that in the rest of the batch, right? Like people are getting tired of being on the screen and it's demanding. But still, I feel like when I have the opportunity to interact with other students outside the online environment, there are interesting discussions to be taken regarding like academically, but also it's very stimulating to have like more personal and social interactions. I am currently living with a student from Jordan, and this experience has been like tremendously enriching, learning from a totally different perspective, way of living, way of interacting in society. So it's, I think, to sum up, it relies a lot on you, and you are the one who is in charge of actually looking for those experiences and not letting yourself like be isolated and overcharged with all the pressure of studies and of being here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sergio. Julian, do you want to add something about online education and what's your take on it, and in general how students are feeling and how are the progress of the students for the major?
Sure. So yeah, we all had to kind of adapt, and sometimes we had to do that. Well, now a bit less so, but in urgency. But now as months like passed by, we also think improved in general in the way of delivering courses online. But we really all hope that this will stop, of course. And in terms of content, I don't think there is a huge difference. I think the content is kind of transmitted, and from what I can say, you know, I don't think the batch under Corona somehow had more difficulty to understand things. So I don't think so. Yeah.
Thank you, Julian, for the explanation. There's another question particularly for you also, Julian. Requirements to join this program. What are the backgrounds that you as a convener, course leader, look for to allow students to be admitted to this program? Yeah.
So what's really welcome is to have at least some training in the social science. And it's not in a broad sense, but it's not so evident. We get quite a lot of application with people coming from technical disciplines or business or agronomy, and that's, for these students it can be more difficult to follow. So we actually look for social science backgrounds, some evidence of like some training in the social sciences, extremely welcome.
Do you also like look at some students? They may not have the social background, but they do have work experience or some kind of internship experience. Do you also allow that kind of students to be admitted?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
you can totally compensate with your own experience.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Julian. A question for Sergio. Students want to know, or prospective students want to know, what kind of are you doing a specialization, or are you thinking of doing one in the coming months? And have you thought about your research paper? Is it too early? When do you start? So it's a lot of questions, but it's all in one.
Okay, so regarding the specialization, I was thinking on doing one before I entered the program, but then I noticed that it was not that easy because of the courses, because they were intersecting. But right now, I think it would be also quite demanding in time, quite intense. So it is not like for anyone, in the sense that it is demanding to cope with the workload of the courses. But I also, like, instead of taking the specialization, I'm taking an honors program. So it's like there are like these programs for a group of students who want to get involved in them. And this time it's regarding tackling digital inequalities in Rotterdam. So I am having the opportunity to interact with students not only from ISS, but from the campus in Rotterdam, on different disciplines, from medicine to law and business. So there is also like this. There are also like these other spaces that you can have. Regarding the RP, well,
Research paper.
the research paper. I think no. Right now it's very early in the process, and what I think about that, it's that you have to be ready to have your perspectives changed about it. Like, it's nice to come with an idea, but for sure your approach to it will change. If not, Julian is not doing his work correctly. So yeah, for sure your perspectives are going to change. But also, as I mentioned, like personally, I want to address the topic of digitalization in agriculture. So right now I'm going like, okay, I have this big topic, and I have had the possibility to talk with Julian, with Una, Viser, and Segae, who have 3 different perspectives on the topic. And right now I am actually in that exploration stage of how to approach it.
Okay, thank you, Sergio. Talking about specialization, which earlier the question was, but this is more probably for Julian. What are the pros and cons of specializing? It's a tough question, I think, but yeah, it is a question.
I think the pro is like, if you thinking about working after later on, on environmental questions, maybe it's good to say, okay, I have an extra specialization on environmental questions, sustainability. So from a career perspective, it can be useful depending on what you want to do. The con would be that it forces you into something, and it prevents you from having a broader view, and like pick, be able to take this opportunity to be here at the ISS to pick other courses elsewhere, not just all in the same area. So make sure you're not like reducing, your horizon just to sustainability and environmental questions.
Thank you very much, Julian. Talking about also research paper or thesis, do you have the option to choose your supervisor, or are you assigned to one when the time comes?
That's a delicate question.
Yeah.
No, but it's so the way we work is that you express your choice, your first choice. So we have a supervisor, and we have what we call the second reader, and you will interact with both as you write your RP, your research paper. So you can express your wish for working with someone, and then the AFES staff, we meet and we make sure everybody has the same numbers, more or less, right, of of students, so that there is nobody who ends up with like 10 students and somebody doesn't have any. But if your research fits very well into the research of one of the staff here, it's clear that it will be this person. I can almost guarantee.
Thank you, Julian. A last question, and this is for Sergio. It's also from Sergio, that's the name of the person. Now, I understand it's important to interact with students, but this one, Sergio is asking, how much interaction do you have with other students from different majors? Maybe in term one or now, for example, like,
Yeah, no, you do have quite a lot of interaction with them. The first term, no, actually, the first and second term, I have had courses with people from other majors. So it's always interesting to contrast like the perspective of someone who is in AFES with someone who is actually in ECD within I forgot what in economics of development. So they certainly have different approaches to understand certain issues, from being more quantitative oriented to more like understanding the political economy behind the different topics. So yeah, for sure you have a lot of opportunities to interact with people from different majors.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sergio. And just to add to that, the students at ISS, every year, for each batch, you have a WhatsApp group. And in that WhatsApp group, informations are exchanged with one another. Yeah. For example, no, now you can't do that. But if to go out and have coffee, or some kind of sports or something like that, even extra classes, extra courses, so you can always join that. But it's not open yet. It will be open somewhere in June or July. So then you can already join the group and get to know your future colleagues who will be studying at ISS come September. I think that is it. There is no more question at the moment. If you have any further question along the line, you can always send me an email at study@iss.nl. And if I cannot answer the question, I will try to connect you to Julian. And if he's free, he will be more than happy to assist you with all the questions.
Yes.
So with that, without further ado, I will just conclude the webinar session. Also here you can see in the last slides, we have different social media that you can join us, especially the Facebook for Perspective group. Please join that group. A lot of things are updated in that group. Also the YouTube, all other webinars for each majors are already uploaded there. AFES will be uploaded there as well, today or tomorrow latest. So you can always have a look and recap what Sergio and Julian has said, so you can get a further understanding of the AFES major. And that's it. We hope to see you in September. All the best and stay strong and healthy.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.